make them welcome.
So, I'm Connor. This is my wife, Andrea. A little bit of background about ourselves. Since I was really young, I had the feeling that there were a lot of people who didn't know Jesus out there, and probably most of them were out there, someplace far away, living in other countries. So when I entered the REACH program after high school, I came to realize that not only are there a whole lot of people who don't know Jesus, but almost 40% of people in the world haven't even heard of Jesus or know anybody who does know him. So when I came to the REACH program, and when Andrea started at Rosedale, we each connected to ministries pretty close by, actually, in Columbus, which helped us see that Jesus had brought a lot of unreached people right to our front door. Before my team left for outreach, I started to think that if I had the chance to just stay in Columbus a little while, we could really get to know a lot of people who don't know Jesus yet, and there would be so many ministry opportunities.
I grew up as a missionary kid near Red Lake, Ontario, in a fly-in reserve First Nations community, which is probably what got me thinking about doing mission work or working with people, but I didn't necessarily have plans to go overseas. Ever since I was a young girl, I wanted to reach out to people who didn't know Jesus. And when I was maybe about 12, my mom read us a story about the writer Anne Vos Camp and her family, and how they sponsored a Syrian refugee family during the Syrian refugee crisis. And after I heard about that, I really got a heart for refugees, and I wondered how I could get involved with them as well. But because I lived in the middle of nowhere, I didn't think I would ever have a chance to do that. Fast forward quite a few years, and I was attending Rosedale Bible College, and while I was there, I asked a lot of questions and struggled and learned a lot, and at the end of it, I felt that I had grown a lot both in my own personal life and also in my head knowledge of God and the Bible. But I felt that if it stopped with me, in some ways it was wasted, and I knew that I wanted to share that knowledge with other people. Also, while I was at Rosedale Bible College, I started helping tutor some Somalian children outside of Columbus. And it was while I was doing that that I realized there are a lot of unreached people that have already come to the United States, many of whom have really never heard about Jesus because of language barriers or just never heard. And we need many workers to reach out to them right here in the United States. And yeah, I never thought I would live in a city like Columbus and have an opportunity to reach out to people like this, but now we're actually living in Columbus.
So, as Andrea said, just this past year, it really felt like God was calling us to move into Columbus. So we live on a street now called Riverview, which is where there's a lot of Muslims, a lot of people from Arab countries and Southern Asian countries, a lot of places that, if you look at the statistics, they're full of people who don't know Jesus, have never known Jesus, don't know anybody who knows Jesus. There's a mosque pretty much in our backyard, and we think that's part of what brings them there, but it might also be just the chance to be with people from their own countries, which is huge when you're in a foreign place. We're definitely not the first Rosedale alumni to live on this street, and there are a handful of others who are living here right now too. Some of them wanting to connect with new immigrants and refugees like we do. We try and help out our immigrant neighbors wherever we can, and we've made a few Arab friends along the way who probably never would have known a believer if they hadn't come to America. A lot of them left due to political tensions, failing governments, crippled economies, and others just came hoping for a better life here. They left behind jobs as doctors, dentists, lawyers, and other pretty high-status positions, and now they come to America and they're teachers or, well, janitors and drivers and things like that. Most of all, they've left behind a lot of family and friends and the cultures that they grew up in, and we're really sad at them that they had to leave behind all that. But we are really amazed at how Jesus is taking really hard situations for people in really tough countries and climates, and using that to bring people to places where they might actually get to know Jesus. In fact, this last year, when Afghanistan came under Taliban rule again, our church family was really pretty heartbroken for that. And we started to pray a lot about the Christians there, the people who aren't Christians there, and praying that Christians here would know what to do, especially because we as believers don't believe that Jesus supports war, and we really felt in our hearts that we needed to put our energy into something else as an alternative to help people. So around Christmas time last year, some of our church family found out that a number of Afghan refugees were going to be resettled on our street. And they actually reached out to try and help us form a team to kind of adopt one of these families. So the first couple weeks, we started to get to know them, and it made the most sense for Andrea and I and a few of the others living on our street to reach out to them the most, because we're right there. We're their neighbors now. So we've gotten to visit them quite a bit and get to know them where we can.
If you're anything like me, you want to reach out to people like this Afghani family, but you are overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, and you don't know what you have to offer. Something I have discovered in these past 6 months as we've been interacting with this family is that I don't need to be able to do everything. I just need to offer what I can do. I have loved watching as different members of our church have worked together and used their different skills and abilities to help this family and ease them in the transition into Columbus. These practical offerings have included driving them places, showing them where grocery stores are, taking their children to get library cards, signing them up for English classes, helping them navigate the medical system, read important documents, so many things. Some on a more relational note, we have drunk many cups of tea on the floor of their tiny apartment, which is holding 2 parents and 8 kids. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. Eaten Afghani food with them, invited them to our homes, although they seem to be most comfortable hosting us in their house as they are a little weirded out by some of our American food and customs. But, and we have gone on walks. They did henna on me before I had my baby. Just a lot of cool experiences with them. One of our church friends was able to take them to see Christmas lights downtown soon after they came to Columbus, and while they were there, they saw a nativity, and this couple was able to explain to them what the nativity meant because of their interaction with them. We have also fumbled through many conversations because of language barrier and have made a lot of mistakes, but just continue to kind of work on that relationship. We have also been brought to tears as they have shared some of the traumatic events that happened to them as they were abruptly having to leave their beloved home country, knowing that they would likely never return, which is really heartbreaking to know. We haven't had very many spiritual conversations, and at times that can feel frustrating. And it can feel like nothing's happening. How long is it going to take before we have opportunities for this? But we've recently been challenged to pray that God would just create opportunities to share the gospel, and in the meantime, we're just going to trust what we're doing is what He wants and continue to share His love.
And as we try and live our lives and share a bit of our lives together with this family, and we feel like that is a really great way that God does open up opportunities to share the gospel with them, even just in the way that we live. Like recently, they heard about Erica's death. We found out about it when we were visiting them, and their response, one of the things they said was the typical Muslim response, "May God forgive her." And our hope is that we can help them get to know that God has forgiven her, that she knew Jesus and she died in Jesus, and she will live forever with Him. And we know for certain that we will see Erica again, and we want them to have that hope too. It's our deep desire that they and all their family and all their people would come to know Jesus in that way and have the hope and healing that they will never find on this earth, particularly through all of the trauma and death they've witnessed, that they would know Jesus.
While we were with them, we were able to, through a text actually, to share that information that we believe that through Jesus, Erica had forgiveness while she was on this earth. She didn't have to wait to go to heaven to experience peace with God. So we're hoping that different interactions like that with them, just spark their curiosity and start challenging them to ask more questions, and we can continue to have opportunities to share things with them. I hope that when I listed all of the ways that people from our church have been able to serve this family, you heard at least one thing that you thought, I could do that. That's not so hard. Jesus asked us to be His hands and feet, and sometimes that's as simple as taking someone to the dentist. You don't have to be trained to reach out to internationals. You just have to be willing.